Welcome back to Superbly Said Advanced English Vocabulary and Phrases.
Yeah, so glad to be diving into this one. Today's source material actually comes straight from an amazing SpeakDuo lesson.
It does, yeah. And for you listening, if you want to, actually put this stuff into practice, you can go to SpeakDuo.com.
Highly recommend it.
Yeah, you can meet new people from around the world who are practicing English on video calls. It's really the best way to become more confident with your speaking abilities.
Oh, absolutely. Real-time practice is everything.
Right. So for today's deep dive into the material, we're jumping straight into some advanced idiomatic phrases, specifically for, workplace and conversational fluency.
Yeah, and this is really geared towards advanced English learners because, well, knowing the literal meaning of these phrases just isn't enough anymore.
Exactly. You need the nuance. Imagine you've just cost your company $1 million.
Oh, wow. Okay, setting the scene.
Yeah, your boss is screaming, your team is completely hiding, and you're just standing there. How do you describe that level of disaster so you sound like a native speaker?
Oh, let's start right there at the beginning of the crisis. So, things go horribly wrong. Our first phrase from the lesson is to go down the drain?
To go down the drain. Okay, obviously that sounds bad.
Right. It means something is completely wasted or lost forever. Like literally pouring water down a sink. Once it goes down the drain, it's just gone.
Okay, but let me ask you this. How is going down the drain different from, say, a plan just falling through? Like if my weekend trip gets canceled, I'd say it fell through.
Right. And that's a crucial distinction. Falling through just means it didn't happen.
Yeah.
It's a big deal, right? There's no real emotional weight.
Right.
But going down the drain, that implies a really painful waste of invested resources, like time, money, or hard work.
Oh, I see. So it's about the sunk cost.
Exactly.
So if I'm talking to my boss, I might say, after 6 months of intensive research and development, the budget cuts meant all our hard work went completely down the drain.
Perfect. Yeah, you're emphasizing the pain of those 6 wasted months.
Right.
And, well, if 6 months of work goes down the drain, someone is going to react. Which brings us to phrase 2, to hit the roof.
Oh, to hit the roof. I love the visual of that.
It's intense, right? It's to suddenly become extremely angry, like you completely lose your temper.
But wait, people get frustrated at work all the time. So how is hitting the roof different from just, blowing off steam?
Oh, they are very different. Like blowing off steam is a healthy release. You complain to a coworker for 5 minutes to blow off steam.
Right, just venting.
Exactly, but hitting the roof is explosive. It's an inappropriate loss of temper. Yelling, slamming doors, it makes everyone uncomfortable.
Wow, okay, so it's a massive reaction. If I were doing, say, an IELTS speaking test, part 2, and I had to describe a tense situation, I could use this.
Oh, definitely. How would you use it?
I might say, when the director saw the unauthorized press release leaked to the media, she hit the roof and demanded an immediate internal inquiry.
Spot on. That immediately tells the examiner exactly how explosive that anger was.
Nice. But what if you were the reason the director hit the roof?
Well, then you are in trouble. And that brings us to phrase 3, to have egg on one's face.
To have egg on one's face. So looking foolish or embarrassed because of a mistake.
Exactly.
But, we all made mistakes. I don't always have egg on my face when I misspell a word in an email. So what's the nuance there?
The nuance is all about your attitude beforehand. It implies you were very confident, maybe even arrogant, right before the mistake was revealed.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah, so the embarrassment is so much worse because you're acting so sure of yourself.
Okay, so for a workplace context, I could say, after confidently assuring the board that the financial projections were foolproof, he was left with egg on his face when the audit revealed massive deficits.
Perfect example. He bragged, and then he failed. Egg on his face.
Makes sense. Okay, so phase 1 of the disaster is over. Work went down the drain, the boss hit the roof, and someone has egg on their face. What's next?
Now we navigate the fallout. Office politics. When a crisis hits, people usually try to keep their heads down, right?
Right, yeah.
So phrase 4 is to rock the boat, meaning to cause trouble or disrupt a stable situation.
Rock the boat.
Yeah.
Is that like making waves? Because they both involve, water and disrupting things.
They do, but making waves can actually be positive. Like an innovator makes waves, right? They drive change.
Oh, sure.
But rocking the boat is almost always negative. It means upsetting a fragile balance that everyone else just wants to maintain.
So making waves is cool, but rocking the boat just makes everyone seasick.
Basically.
Okay, so a conversation example. Even though I knew the current department workflow was inefficient, I chose not to rock the boat during my probation period.
Exactly. You wanted to keep things stable. But, what if someone goes further? What if they actively hide the problem?
Ah, that would be phrase 5. To sweep something under the rug.
Right. It means hiding or ignoring a problem instead of dealing with it.
Now wait. How does that compare to putting something on the back burner? Both mean you aren't dealing with it right now.
True, but it's about transparency.
Yeah.
If you put something on the back burner, you're openly saying, hey, we'll delay this for later.
Right, it's public.
Yeah, but sweeping it under the rug means you are actively and sneakily concealing it so nobody finds out.
Got it. Sneaky. So, professional example. Management tried to sweep the compliance violation under the rug rather than addressing it transparently, which eventually led to a severe penalty.
A classic corporate disaster. And, hiding things never works.
Nope. Eventually, you have to face the music and rebuild. Which brings us to damage control.
Right. Phrase 6.
Ah,
To smooth things over. This means fixing a disagreement or making a relationship better.
why not just say resolve the issue? I mean, isn't that the same thing?
Not quite. Resolving an issue is about a factual problem, like fixing a broken printer. But smoothing things over is strictly about the emotional or social damage between people.
The human element. So, after the heated disagreement during the strategy meeting, the project manager sent a conciliatory email to smooth things over with the client.
Beautifully used. So the feelings are smoothed over, but what about the actual project?
Right, the practical side. That's phrase 7, to pick up the pieces.
Exactly. Recovering and rebuilding after a massive failure.
But how is that different from just starting from scratch?
Well, starting from scratch implies a blank slate. It's clean.
Right, fresh start.
But picking up the pieces implies you are dealing with the messy wreckage of a failure. You're trying to salvage what's left.
That sounds exhausting.
Hmm.
So, like a high-level business example. Following the abrupt collapse of our primary partnership, the executive team had to step in and pick up the pieces to save the project.
Exactly. They are salvaging the wreckage, which takes a lot of hard choices, leading us to our final phrase, phrase 8, to bite the bullet.
To bite the bullet. So, doing something difficult or unpleasant because you have to.
Yeah, it's necessary.
Okay, another phrase from the source material jumped out at me here. How is biting the bullet different from gritting one's teeth?
Ooh, good catch. So, you grit your teeth to endure something unpleasant that is already happening to you. It's passive.
Like sitting through a boring meeting.
Right. But you bite the bullet to actively initiate a tough action that you've been avoiding. You are taking charge.
Oh, I see. So like professional development. Knowing it would take up all my weekends, I finally bit the bullet and paid for the course to improve my skills.
Perfect. You actively chose the hard path.
Okay, well, we've gone through the whole disaster life cycle. Now it's time for a quick SpeakDuo quiz to test your attention.
Yeah, so here's how this works. We will read a question with options A, B, and C. And listen closely because some of these distractors are completely wild.
They really are. Okay, so for every question, I'll read the options and then feel free to pause the audio. Well, actually, feel free to pause the podcast here if you need to think about the answer. Then we'll give you the answer. Ready?
Let's do it.
Question 1. Which sentence uses the idiomatic phrase to go down the drain correctly based on context? Again, to go down the drain.
The professional plumbing and drainage contractor was instructed to ensure nothing went down the drain during the pipe replacement.
The deeply frustrated young retail clerk aggressively managed to completely drop a white line.
After 6 months of intensive research and development, the budget cuts meant all our hard work went completely down the drain. So feel free to pause the podcast here if you need to think about the answer.
All right, the correct answer is option C. The sentence is, after 6 months of intensive research and development, the budget cuts meant all our hard work went completely down the drain. Remember, to go down the drain is about a painful waste of resources, just like those R&D budget cuts we talked about.
Yep. All right, question 2. Select the context where the phrase "to hit the roof" is most appropriately used figuratively. We're looking for "to hit the roof."
When the director saw the unauthorized press release leaked to the media, she hit the roof and demanded an immediate internal inquiry.
The professional roofing construction specialist was instructed to hit the roof with a hammer to test the shingle stability.
The incredibly clumsy warehouse inventory clerk accidentally managed to quickly buy some large systems.
Yeah.
Feel free to pause the podcast here if you need to think about the answer.
And the answer is option A. The correct use is When the director saw the unauthorized press release leaked to the media, she hit the roof and demanded an immediate internal inquiry. Just a quick reminder, to hit the roof means an explosive loss of temper, unlike just blowing off steam.
Exactly. Question 3. In which situation does someone accurately utilize the advanced phrase to have egg on one's face contextually? We want to egg on one's face.
The professional culinary arts bakery instructor was instructed to have egg on one's face before baking the pastry.
After confidently assuring the board that the financial projections were foolproof, he was left with egg on his face when the audit revealed massive deficits.
The completely terrified young wilderness traveler unexpectedly noticed an exceptionally massive, heavy tool chest. Feel free to pause the podcast here if you need to think about the answer.
The correct answer is option B. After confidently assuring the board that the financial projections were foolproof, he was left with egg on his face when the audit revealed massive deficits. Remember that crucial nuance. It implies you were overly confident right before making the mistake.
Wait, the bragging makes it worse. Okay, question 4. Which response best demonstrates the advanced phrase, to rock the boat, figuratively? We're looking for to rock the boat.
Even though I knew the current department workflow was inefficient, I chose not to rock the boat during my probation period.
The professional marine kayaking instructor was instructed to rock the boat gently during the water safety demonstration.
The incredibly clumsy warehouse inventory clerk accidentally managed to quickly catch that white balance. Feel free to pause the podcast here if you need to think about the answer.
The answer is option A. Even though I knew the current department workflow was inefficient, I chose not to rock the boat during my probation period. This perfectly captures to rock the boat because it's about avoiding disrupting that fragile status quo at the office.
Halfway there. Question 5. How would a professional accurately use the phrase to pick up the pieces contextually? That's to pick up the pieces.
The professional glass manufacturing recycling technician was instructed to pick up the pieces from the broken container floor.
The completely confused amateur theater group unexpectedly decided to proudly paint a clean frame.
Following the abrupt collapse of our primary partnership, the executive team had to step in and pick up the pieces to save the project. Feel free to pause the podcast here if you need to think about the answer.
All right. The correct answer is option C. Following the abrupt collapse of our primary partnership, the executive team had to step in and pick up the pieces to save the project. Remember, to pick up the pieces is salvaging the wreckage of a failure, not just starting from a clean slate.
Yep, the heavy lifting. Question 6. Which scenario perfectly illustrates the meaning of the phrase, to sweep something under the rug contextually? To sweep something under the rug.
The professional carpet cleaning maintenance worker was instructed to sweep something under the rug before the inspection.
Management tried to sweep the compliance violation under the rug rather than addressing it transparently, which eventually led to a severe penalty.
The incredibly clumsy hotel maintenance worker accidentally managed to completely drop that red tray. Feel free to pause the podcast here if you need to think about the answer.
The answer is option B. Management tried to sweep the compliance violation under the rug rather than addressing it transparently, which eventually led to a severe penalty. Like we discussed, to sweep something under the rug means actively and sneakily hiding a problem.
Almost done. Question 7. Which sentence accurately utilizes the advanced phrase, to smooth things over, contextually? To smooth things over.
After the heated disagreement during the strategy meeting, the project manager sent a conciliatory email to smooth things over with the client.
The professional drywall installation specialist was instructed to smooth things over with sandpaper on the wall surface.
The deeply confused young kitchen assistant accidentally managed to quickly slice a fresh piece of over. Feel free to pause the podcast here if you need to think about the answer.
The correct answer is option A. After the heated disagreement during the strategy meeting, the project manager sent a conciliatory email to smooth things over with the client. This reminds us that to smooth things over is all about repairing the emotional relationship after a conflict.
All right, final question. Question 8. Which of the following statements correctly uses to bite the bullet figuratively? To bite the bullet.
The antique weapons collector was instructed to bite the bullet to test the authenticity of the lead.
The deeply frustrated young retail clerk aggressively managed to completely drop a white line.
Knowing it would take up all my weekends, I finally bit the bullet and paid for the course to improve my skills. Feel free to pause the podcast here if you need to think about the answer.
And the final correct answer is option C. Knowing it would take up all my weekends, I finally bit the bullet and paid for the course to improve my skills. To bite the bullet means you are actively initiating a difficult but necessary task.
Awesome. So how did you do with those completely bizarre distractor options?
Seriously, some of those were wild. But, before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a final thought to just mull over.
Oh, definitely.
It's fascinating how many of our workplace idioms revolve around disaster,
Yeah.
right, and recovery. So next time you're in a meeting, listen closely to the idioms people use. Are they building a culture that sweeps things under the rug, or a culture that's willing to bite the bullet? Because the vocabulary your team uses might just reveal their entire corporate strategy.
Wow, that is such a great point. The words you use literally create the culture you work in. Well, thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into the source material, and we will catch you next time.